President Biden signed his $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill into law today, exactly 1 year after the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus a pandemic and the country started to shut down, and Republicans tried to both lie about the bill and claim credit for the bill at the same time. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Everyone's been reflecting on the fact that it's been exactly 1 year since the start of the pandemic and the shutdowns, and while most normal human beings have looked back solemnly at the staggering death toll and all the suffering, the pain and misery caused by the economic crash, Fox and Friends is wondering, what if we just, didn't do anything?
You wonder where we would have been a year ago had they said, okay, these are the things to protect yourselves, but they had not closed down the whole planet, and then just given people the choice. Where would we be 1 year later? Because today marks the 1 year anniversary of the pandemic.
I know. Can you imagine where our economy would be today, where our healthcare sector would be today? Human beings are capable of good decisions if you provide them with the right information. It's a thought experiment, unfortunately, Steve, we don't get to do in reverse.
I don't know, guys. Seems like the thought experiment falls apart when you talk about providing people with the right information, since you work for a network that might as well be called the wrong information. Let's not forget last year's hits like it's basically the flu, masks don't work, or the doctor who said hydroxychloroquine is the answer, the same doctor who also believes demons have sex with men to collect their sperm. Do you know how hard comedy writing is when the real thing is demon sperm? You can't heighten it. Here, I'll prove it. Trump's touting a doctor who believes in demon sperm. What's next? Demon sperm? See, there's nowhere else to go. Sure, I guess I could say unicorn, but they're just gonna beep. I can't believe the question these guys are asking after a year and 500,000 deaths is, what if instead of helping people, we just did nothing? You sociopath, do you guys not understand the germ theory of disease? Microorganisms spread from one person to another, so in order to stop the disease, you have to keep people apart. I can't believe I have to explain this to you like I'm some 19th century biologist. You don't understand, diseases are caused by microbes. Okay, Louis Pasteur, come on guys, let's go drink from the fountain outside the asylum. I can't believe it's been a year since everything shut down. And by that I mean it's only been a year. I feel like these last 12 months, we've all aged at president speed. Remember how Obama went in looking like a cast member on My So-Called Life and came out looking like he'd just seen Mitch McConnell's ghost? That's all of us now. In fact, I feel like Obama's the only one who's somehow gotten younger in the last year. He's hanging out on the vineyard, doing podcasts like a 20-year-old stand-up. Bruce, I got a sweet new audio setup. Just bought a Yeti and a pop filter. But it's true, it's been exactly 1 year since that surreal cascade of events led to the shutdown of the country, from the NBA shutting down to Tom Hanks getting COVID. And then, of course, as we all solemnly remember, the late night shows. 1 year ago, I was here in my studio alone after sending our staff home and canceling our show, doing a closer look for YouTube. And now, a year later, I'm here in my studio alone doing a closer look for Wally. I hope you enjoy them, Wally.
I mean, I wish they could be a little shorter.
Not now, Wally.
It's really heavy to hold, Sam.
Not now. I remember that day like it was yesterday. Everything was shutting down. People were scared. Grocery stores were ransacked. So I got up on a chair in the office and gave an inspirational speech where I said to my staff, gang, I know you're terrified, but this is our moment. People are counting on us. So let's get out there and put on the best goddamn show of our lives. And then I looked down and the room was empty, except for a tumbleweed that rolled past, stole a bottle of Purell off my desk, and then left. And it was even worse than that because I was standing on top of my chair and the crew guy who helps me down from chairs had left. I don't know how to do it. I used to. Anyway, the point is, it's worth stepping back, reflecting on everything the country's been through over the last year, all the pain, the suffering, the joblessness, rising poverty, food scarcity, so much of it needless, thanks in large part to the sociopathic incompetence of an administration and political party that simply did not care that a deadly virus was rampaging through the country and often did everything it could to help spread the disease. It's also been 1 year since we all trapped ourselves inside our homes with stockpiles of gin and red wine, watching Tiger King and Love is Blind while clinging to our last shreds of toilet paper like a plank floating in the water after a shipwreck. Remember that? When there was a deadly, mysterious virus rampaging through the country and instead of face masks, everyone thought the one thing they need was toilet paper? I have so much residual anxiety from that when I see a guy walking down the street with a 12-pack of Charmin from the grocery store, I still can't help but think to myself, ew, you better have 12 ass, buddy. Also, remember Love is Blind? I know it was a year ago, but we still have to talk about Jessica. Mostly in regards to how she was showing us our own futures. Everyone thought it was insane when she gave wine to her dog, but then quarantine happened and we all ended up doing much, much weirder things to pass the time. I, for example, developed a close personal relationship with a sea captain painting. So, Jessica, I am very sorry for judging you. It's also been exactly 1 year since our last president delivered a bizarre primetime address where he struggled to read off the teleprompter, got a bunch of his own policies wrong, and then did this after he thought the feed had cut out.
We will heal the sick, care for those in need, help our fellow citizens, and emerge from this challenge stronger and more unified than ever before. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
We're clear.
Okay? Okay.
Remember that? When the president reacted to his own speech on a national crisis like you just told him you were getting back together with your ex. She stole your car to go have sex with your brother, but okay. Although my favorite part of that speech was actually the bit C-SPAN caught before it started, when Trump accidentally got a pen mark on his suit and freaked out.
Is that right? A what? Wow. Uh-oh. I got a pen mark. Anybody have any white? Do you have any white stuff?
That is definitely not what you want to see during a national emergency. Tune in to C-SPAN early and see the president saying, oh no. What is it, Mr. President? More bad news on the virus? No, way worse, guys. I got a big old ketchup stain on my shirt. Oh, you should have let me have the sloppy Joe right before we went on. Does anyone have a Tide to go stick? Tide to go stick? Mel? Mel? Do you have the Tide to go stick? What? Say it louder, Mel. I should Tide to go. Mel! Bring down the white stuff. No, not cocaine, mayonnaise. You know, it's such a relief to have a competent administration that actually cares about governing and a party that just passed a massive stimulus bill that will deliver urgent relief to millions of people as opposed to, you know, a racist, authoritarian, criminal sociopath who tried to overthrow democracy. But I will still occasionally reminisce about how deeply weird he was. If Trump wants to run again, we should just create a second position separate from president and call it White House weirdo or something. Let him hug all the flags he wants and shake Macron's hand for an hour while Biden does all the actual governing. And let's not forget, a lot has changed in the last year for Trump, too, and not just because of the pandemic. Now that he's lost the legal protections of the presidency, he's under increasing criminal scrutiny. The Wall Street Journal obtained the audio of yet another phone call in which Trump pressured a Georgia election official to throw out valid ballots, which comes as the Fulton County DA investigates Trump's bid to steal the state's votes. And his former fixer, Michael Cohen, who already went to jail for a hush money scheme directed by Trump, is apparently cooperating with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office in its investigation of Trump's business dealings and taxes.
CNN has learned that Michael Cohen, former Trump lawyer and fixer, met with prosecutors from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office for a 7th time as their investigation of the former president continues.
7 interviews, my God, they're going to have to publish the indictment as a multi-part series like Game of Thrones. I'm no lawyer, but generally speaking, it's not good when the prosecutor investigating you does more interviews with your personal fixer than there are episodes in an HBO miniseries. When Trump heard about the 7 interviews with Cohen, he was probably as shocked as Nicole Kidman was when she found out her charming British husband with a mysterious past who's estranged from his family and conspicuously left his phone at home during a trip that he was purposely vague about might have killed someone. When Trump got the call about Cohen's 7 interviews, he probably was like, wow. But Trump's bizarre, half-hearted speech 1 year ago is a stunning contrast with the seriousness and gravitas of the speech President Biden delivered tonight, exactly 1 year later, to mark the pain the country's endured while also offering hope for the future. Vaccinations are ramping up, cases are headed down, and today Biden signed a bill that will inject $1.9 trillion into the economy to help struggling Americans who need and deserve it. The bill is enormously popular. 75% of Americans and 59% of Republicans approve of it. Do you know how hard it is to get 75% approval for anything? I can't even get 75% approval from my crew for my impression of Michael Shannon playing various Looney Tune characters. Get ready to die ass because it's duck season in this part of town. You should have made a left turn at Albuquerque, mother.
I say, boy, what is the big idea? Are you threatening me, boy? I am the cock of the walk around here. Nobody threatens Foghorn Alfredo Leghorn.
We brought it back one more time. I promise that's it for today. Anyway, point is, the bill is massively popular with voters in both parties, and yet Republicans have derided it as a so-called partisan bill and gone so far as to pretend that it doesn't even do that much about COVID, which is a total lie.
Well, I'm extremely disappointed in Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. This is a very partisan bill.
There was no reason for them to jam through this $1.9 trillion bill.
I think we might have a new name for this package that's come over. It's the Porky Partisan Pricey Pet Project Package.
It's just unbelievable. This thing is just so corrupt, so costly, and you look at it, it's just so liberal.
$1.9 trillion of relief that mostly has nothing to do with COVID.
President Biden says it's a coronavirus bill, and my response is right, and the stripper really likes you.
What? So what are you talking about? It says a lot about Kennedy that he thinks that's an analogy that makes the most sense to people. We've all been there, Brian. You're at the club and you strike up a conversation with one of the dancers. Misty's my favorite, and you make it feel like you're having a real connection. Next thing you go in for a hug, and the bouncer's throwing you out on the sidewalk, telling you your band from the Diamond Donkey, which is bad news because they got the best shrimp in town. And that's what this COVID bill is. It's just a strip club shrimp. You can't have it anymore. It's all COVID money. The $1,400 checks, that's COVID money. The money to reopen schools, fund state and local governments, to pay pensions, to keep services running and people employed, that's COVID money too. Not to mention the money for vaccinations and public health. But Kennedy continued with his deranged analogy.
It's just chock full of spending porn. And if you add up all the coronavirus spending and then all the spending porn, there's no comparison. And to me, using a coronavirus bill to effectuate spending porn is like looting after a natural disaster.
Jesus, dude, I don't love Fox and Friends, but it's a morning show. You can't come out firing strippers and porn everywhere. I mean, save something for Hannity. What's left for him? I want to talk about unicorn. Oh, so you're a weird man. I can't follow a word you're saying. Are you trying to sound like Boomhauer? Because that interview would actually make more sense.
Are you celebrating the greatest progressive bill in the history of our country?
What the difference between an old man and a little squirt gun?
But I have to say, some of the most galling behavior came from Republicans who actually tried to take credit for elements of the bill while also voting against it.
Republican Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi tweeted today after the bill passed the House. He tweeted, "Independent restaurant operators have won $28.6 billion worth of targeted relief. This funding will ensure small businesses can survive the pandemic by helping to adapt their operations and keep their employees on the payroll." It sounds like he's all for it, and it was part of passing it. He actually voted against the bill, as did every single Republican in the Congress.
You voted against it. If you'd gotten your way, restaurants wouldn't have gotten a dime of that money. You can't just turn around and claim credit for it. I know these guys are shameless, but I'm still shocked. They're the kind of guys who would run out and try to lift Tom Brady on their shoulders while wearing Chiefs jerseys. We're like a week away from them going door to door scribbling courtesy of the Republican Party in the memo line of everyone's stimulus check. It has been a surreal and heartbreaking year of pain, suffering, and misery for millions of people. And while we're at a crossroads right now with a mix of caution and competent governance, we can get to the end of this soon. But we can't forget the lessons of the past. One of our two major political coalitions became unmoored from reality, dismissed an urgent public health threat, and presided over needless suffering and death, all while trying to overthrow democracy. And now, exactly 1 year later, the other coalition, whatever its faults, has delivered urgent relief to the poor and working class Americans who need and deserve it. Relief that's massively popular with the majority of Americans of all political persuasions. So Republicans, most voters may not like you, but hey, at least maybe
the stripper really likes you.
This has been A Closer Look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV, AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated. We love you.